Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast, coming at you live on a Tuesday. August is almost over, and it will be football season soon. But we are talking golf today, going to talk some college football. Before we get into that, though, Jell, I've got a question of the day for you here. I think I know what way you would lean on this, but I was trying to find two would you rathers and make it fantasy football related here. So,
oh, daddy.
Would you rather, for the next 10 fantasy football seasons, be in fantasy purgatory where you're middle of the pack, not competing for a playoff spot, but you're staying out of the Sacco Bowl, or have one season, you don't know which season it's going to be, where you're in contention for a championship? So you make the playoffs, nothing's guaranteed after that point, but then the next 9 seasons, you have a spot in the Sacco Bowl.
Oh,
so it's one of those. So essentially, would you rather for 10 seasons just be maybe pulling the spoiler, knocking somebody out of the playoffs?
This isn't fun.
It's not supposed to be.
God.
Or do you want one season that maybe you make the championship and win a championship, but then the rest you could be taking home the Sacco and being stressed out?
I'm probably gonna go with sitting in purgatory, kind of the middle of the pack. And reason why is, at least even if my, at least the trade deadline then becomes a good time, I'll either be aggressive or a seller depending on what kind of a league I'm in. So that's probably the way I'm going to lean. I mean, I'm generally aggressive at the trade deadline. Yeah. At least that's how I've been in previous keeper leagues. Dynasty leagues can be depending on the way that however my team is sitting, but keeper leagues, I tend to be a little bit, probably overly aggressive and, but that at least makes the trade deadline fun, even if it doesn't work out, such as last season and the year before. I made a bunch of moves, gave up future assets to end up, I think both times being booted in the first round of the playoffs, but I was sitting in that like 5th or 6th place and I did make the playoffs. So that was kind of nice, but I don't know, at least the trade deadline then becomes kind of fun. So that's probably where I'm going to lean, although it'd be frustrating to obviously never be truly in contention, but having that one time would be glorious. But I can't sit in near last place for the other 9 years of the 10. That's not worth it for me. So I'll take the potential for some trade deadline fun each year and I'll sit there in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think that's where I lean on this as well. Just being somebody that, unfortunately, the last 2 years in our home league, our league of record, my team just hasn't panned out, where going into the last couple of weeks of the season, I'm fighting to try and stay out of our Sacco Bowl, which is never fun. It's, I think, more stressful than being in the actual playoffs. I mean, you hear about some leagues out there.
It's ours is shame.
Yes. And our league's not one, I would say, that's bad compared to others as far as the Sacco goes. Our Sacco punishment essentially is a bobblehead of Johnny Manziel with a male genitalia, I guess, nailed to it. So you have to display it proudly in your house. So, I mean, I guess it's not bad compared to, I mean, you see some of them, they're the losers getting a tattoo of the winner's choice and wear and all of that, or
that's dangerous.
The old waffle challenge, where you have to go to a Waffle House for 24 hours and however many waffles you eat, it reduces an hour. So you're that, or I've heard the other ones too, where people have to, like, whoever loses has to sign up for the SAT and commit a Saturday to take it.
That's the worst. Oh no.
So, ours isn't bad, but yeah, I think, like you said,
that's amazing.
The way our league's set up, there's just a couple of keepers, so you could have a couple fun trade deadlines in there, not have the stress of being in the Sacco Bowl, and I think I would lean that way too. So
that's so funny. The SAT, I haven't heard that one. That's so great. Yeah. That's amazing.
That'd be so bad, especially too. Like, you think if you're like in your like 40s or 50s, and then you're in there with a bunch of like high school kids, you're like, what the hell is this guy doing here? We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. We are live on YouTube on Tuesday today. So if you want, you can switch over and watch the replay of the video. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe and click the bell so that way you know when our episodes drop live and you can watch us live. Have that chat popped up so you can ask us any questions like our friend John K did last week. Appreciate that. So again, ask us any questions. We keep an eye on that, and we'll hopefully answer it live on the podcast if you send anything your way. You want to follow Gel on socials, he can be found at DasGel. That's at DasJel. I can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DasJPEC. And yeah, you can find us there, ask us questions as well. All right, Gel, we are diving into some golf, and yeah, what a tour championship it was. Scotty Scheffler started off with the lead, had a little struggle there on Saturday before the rain delay, and ended up coming out of the rain delay. They had about 5 or 6 holes to play on Sunday morning, just absolutely destroyed the field, picked up a 6-shot lead only to watch that fall down the stretch. And Rory McIlroy is our tour champion taker homer of 18 million big ones. So I mean, even Rory in his, post match, kind of when he was accepting the trophy for winning the title, he even said he kind of feels bad for winning this over Scotty. I mean, great for Rory, but geez, Scotty to drop a 3 over on that final Sunday. It's really the first time we've seen him choke all season. He'd been really clutch if he'd been going into Sundays with a lead. And we saw that we saw that on the Masters, when that Masters Sunday outside of hole 18, when he decided to 4-putt his way in at Augusta. I forgot about that.
he had strokes to play with. So it was just, but he had been really clutch all season long on those Sundays, and he just, he choked on something, and Rory played well enough. I think Rory went 4 under Sunday with Scotty going 3 over. So yeah, Rory ended up singing that final putt on 18 to take it home, and Scotty's sitting there with I guess a second place finish, which ain't no, I'd take that payday, but still got to be disappointing for him. And, considering where he was at going into Sunday.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I would have liked to have seen Scotty win it. However, with LIV golf going on right now, it was kind of cool that the face of the PGA Tour that's been against LIV from the start and has been very vocal about it the entire season ends up taking home the championship in Rory McIlroy. So that was kind of cool, at least to see that aspect of it. But
and he mentioned that too during his, just kind of like how abnormal this season has been with all the talks and of all this, and how proud he is of all the people, all the players that stayed, and talked about kind of some of the sponsorships and how supportive they have been, and how collaborative the players that have, the ones that have stuck around on the PGA Tour, how supportive everybody has been of each other, and knowing that hey, it's us against them now, and we're the good guys, they're the bad guys, and now the PGA Tour is, it's weird to kind of think like the PGA Tour is one team, LIV Golf is the other team. It's like in Star Wars Battlefront, you've got the Rebels versus the whatever, I forget what the other team is, but yeah, it's just different, and it's like they're all kind of picking each other up, the ones that remained, and hopefully that doesn't kind of kill the competition of the PGA Tour within itself, because it is pretty sweet. Like, I really did like seeing the Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau rivalry.
Yeah.
And it was a legitimate rivalry. I mean, they were legitimate. And how many people all hated Patrick Reed? Like, and now all 3 of those guys, Brooks, Bryson, and Reed, are all over in LIV. So it's like, I don't know, let them, like, all these golfers that nobody really liked all went over to LIV, and all the people that everybody loved kind of stuck. Not everybody. I mean, there's still plenty of Phil Mickelson lovers and everything, but it's like the people that stayed are on the PGA Tour are kind of looked at as the good guys, and at least by the majority of people. So Rory was just kind of talking about that and how he's impressed with how supportive everybody has been of each other that have stuck around, and how much they have, been. I mean, Spieth, Justin Thomas, Rory, obviously, Scotty Scheffler, they've all pretty much, most of the guys that have stuck around have all said, I'm not here just to make a big paycheck. I could go to LIV if all I cared about was money, but I'm here to build a legacy. And Tiger also mentioned this, like, I kind of owe what I have to the PGA Tour. If it was just me going out golfing with my friends and shooting a 68 every round out on the Muni, like, who gives a shit? But I owe it to the PGA Tour for where I'm at now and what, the amount of money that I already have and the amount of money that I'm still going to get. So it's just cool to see Rory as supportive as he has been, and him kind of saying, he feels bad for Scotty a little bit. That just kind of goes to show that he truly is supportive of his guys. Monahan was up there with Rory. Of course, Monahan presented the Tour championship trophy to Rory. Certainly not everybody thinks that Monahan is the perfect guy to get the PGA Tour over this hump. He's had his own he's had his own set of slip ups in terms of how he's handled the LIV situation, but overall, just kind of it felt like a happy moment with Rory up there, especially like you said, being the face of the PGA Tour at this point. It felt good.
Speaking of those LIV, we did have some news come out today. However, I purposely skipped over our "What are you sipping on today" gel, because I'll ask you, and then I will let the listeners know what transpired over the weekend. So why don't you go ahead and let us know what you're sipping on today?
Good old fashioned Busch Light.
All right, so we've got a social, and in fact a double social, because I lost our golf bet from the season, our Drew Locks of the week in grand fashion. So I will have a beer chug for that. And I was at a golf outing on Saturday.
Is that what happened?
Yes, sir. But I wasn't able to watch the tournament, but saw that Xander was creeping up the leaderboard. He was pretty hot on Saturday prior to that rain delay. He was one shot back. So I was like, hey, double or nothing, gel. Xander Schauffele wins the whole thing. And you graciously accepted and gave me the opportunity to wash out all of my terrible golf picks from this past season. And Xander failed me. So I will dedicate my second beer chug to Xander. So I've got 2 Busch lattes to chug for us on this episode today. So I will go ahead and get started while you talk about the golfers that jumped over to LIV today. Finally got the news: Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Mark Leishman, Harold Varner III, all over to LIV. So,
well, I've got a surprise for you. I'm going to turn this into a social, buddy. It was a good season. It was a good. You still got another one. I've only got one.
Yes,
but I'll do one for social purposes. So
got 2 here
for you YouTube viewers. Count it down. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is warm. And I am already full.
Sitting right. Oh, that's like creep. That's like foaming up to the top of my stomach. Lovely. All right. Number 2 for you.
Number 2.
Get her done, kiddo. Yeah. So as Josh had said, Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Mark Leishman, I wrote him down twice. Nice. Harold Varner and Cameron Tringali are all moving over to LIV. It's that Aussie group of Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, not a surprise given that Greg Norman, an Aussie himself, is leading the LIV Tour. Joaquin Niemann, I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed with Neiman leaving. He was a rising star. He played with Tiger. He grouped with Tiger on day one of the Masters after, I believe, did he win the Genesis this year?
Yeah.
Yep. So, he seemed like a rising star. I believe 21, 22-year-olds, Chilean. Feels like it's all, it seems like there's not too many Americans that are going over there at this point. Of course, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, and Phil, the four really the biggest Americans that are that left over for LIV. They all got major paydays. But now at this point, it feels like there's, all the Americans that are still on the PGA Tour. I don't see many of them leaving. So it's going to be a pretty American presence, at least within the PGA Tour. And then LIV is probably going to be, it's going to be more Europeans, the Aussies. And, I know there were some natives of Mexico and then also obviously with Neiman going there, over a native of South America, at least, some of these guys over there. So, yeah, I know. And then I know that there are some Asian players also that went over there. So I think at this point, it's going to be mostly Americans that end up. The Americans that are still on the PGA Tour, I don't see them really leaving at this point. That's for the exact reasons that Rory kind of said, that we all grew up with the PGA Tour and our dream was to make the PGA Tour. And now they've met their dream and they don't want to ditch it for a quick payday. So it's kind of, I go back to like Taylor Gooch. Rumor is that Gooch got $30 million as a signing bonus to leave for LIV. That's not like, I'm just shocked that he left. That's not that much money for a guy that's as young as he is. I mean, he's in his mid 20s, maybe 27. So it was a little shocking for a guy like Taylor Gooch to dip out. But yeah, Cam Smith obviously losing one of the biggest players on tour. Really,
number 2 in the world.
Yeah. I mean, came onto the scene, 3 Masters ago, probably at this point. Maybe it was that fall Masters during in 2020, or maybe that was 2020. Yeah. That's when he really burst onto the scene, and it's too bad to see him go because he kind of came out of nowhere and turned into a true star, and he's leaving. So that's a major hit for the PGA Tour. But like I said, a guy like Neiman, rising star. Rest of the guys, Leishman, Harold Varner, Tringali, yeah, they've had their time up in the top 10, but not as impactful, I think, as a Cam Smith, as a Joaquin Niemann from this group of players that are leaving.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said there. It's disappointing, especially like Cam Smith leaving, somebody that is one of the fun players to watch on tour. And I think it just really puts a letdown in for this upcoming President's Cup. I mean, all these guys aren't going to be able to qualify and play on the President's Cup as of this recording right now. So, I mean, Cam Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Mark Leishman are all guys that probably would have potentially been on that team. So now it's like that the rest of the world team is going to be just kind of scraping together guys for the most part. I mean, Hideki Matsuyama committed to the PGA Tour, so you've got him there. He was one that had been rumored to potentially have been offered a pretty big payday on the LIV Tour, so he hasn't gone yet, and had said after the Tour Championship, he said he was committed to playing on the PGA Tour and wanted to be a part of it. So hopefully that sticks around too, because he's obviously a young guy, fun to watch as well. So, but yeah, we knew that this was coming. These guys were holding out hope that they would be able to win the Tour Championship, make that big payday before they jumped over to their larger payday at LIV. But hopefully this is the end of it for now with the new stuff that we talked about last week on the PGA Tour. Hopefully guys are sticking around now. And
who was it I forgot, I'm spacing on the guy's name that was, I know so Trevor Immelman was named the international captain But who was it that?
Oh no, that's for the Ryder Cup next year. It was
Shoot. Okay.
Who was it?
I know he dipped out like a
Yeah, I'm
few
gonna have
weeks
to look.
ago. But yeah, I mean, I guess obviously just disappointing for the game of golf, but I guess hopefully hopefully either LIV dissolves and we can, and
Henrik Stenson was.
That's okay. I knew it was. I kept thinking Harold Varner because of the H. Henrik Stenson is right. Yeah, I'm obviously, I don't know if LIV dissolves because that Saudi money. Not that they're gonna run out of it, but that they might say, "What the hell are we spending this money for? We're not making anything back." So, which is a legit possibility. So, I don't know if there's a chance that organization just dissolves, but if it does the PGA say, "Hey guys, you can all come back now," or are they
that's what I'm wondering
are
too.
they gonna say like, "No, you guys, like, you got to requalify, fair is fair, and or do they say, "No, screw you guys, you've lost your membership"?
Yeah,
Who knows? That'd be interesting. Or they create a whole new organization. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of here for the storyline because more than anything, but it still sucks for the game of golf to not have those guys in there on a weekly basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And who knows, maybe down the road, these tours can compete against one another and have like a Ryder Cup type format where it's PGA Tour versus LIV or something like that too. But we'll see what ends up happening.
Get there when we get there.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of get there when we get there, the NCAA football season is upon us. Week 0 happened this last weekend. Not a ton of takeaways, but I know one we're going to hit on here, Joe, and that is Nebraska. The hyped up team, Casey Thompson, coming up from Texas, ends up losing to Northwestern in Dublin, Ireland.
Dublin.
Yeah, it's I got a fun stat for you here, Joe.
Scott's
because we're gonna be
head
talking.
Coach's future seems quite frosty.
Yes, it does, and I'm glad that you brought his name up because I have a fact that I saw as I was scrolling through Twitter today. This is from at ESPN_Schick from Matt Schick, and he tweeted out great nugget from at ESPN Stats Info. Before the onside kick, Nebraska had an 88% in-game win probability. This was the 7th time Nebraska lost a game under Scott Frost when it had at least an 80% chance to win at some point, and the 4th time in the last 9 games.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I know. I mean, he's got, he had, I think, 8 or 9 one-score losses last season.
Yep.
So, like, at some point, that's not just player execution. Like, you got to make adjustments if you're a head coach. And like you said, Casey Thompson coming in for the 38-year-old Martinez. Finally, he leaves. But I mean, yeah, Casey Thompson coming in, he's supposed to be a bit of a difference maker, and clearly not the case. They were a 13-point favorite over Northwestern. My dumbass didn't bet it. I saw that 13-point number, and I was like, there's no way. And then I looked at all the transfers coming in, and I saw Casey Thompson. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they can do it. But God, you could see in that game how outmatched Scott Frost was versus Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, and Pat Fitzgerald is one of the best coaches. He's one of the top 3 coaches in the Big Ten, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard to get talent into Northwestern because of their academic standards that have to be met. They're an academics first school, similar to a Stanford, but he's had 9-win teams at Northwestern. That's insanely impressive for considering those academic standards. But still, like, a 13-point favorite going in with a new hotshot quarterback. I believe Casey Thompson was, when he came into Texas, I think he might have been a 5-star recruit, but highly touted guy. brutal. They were up 11 when they went for that onside kick that they lost. And it's like, if you there's no reason for that. You don't need to go for the throat stabbing at that point to try to put them out. Like, if you really are the better team, you're going to take that 11-point lead, make them go 75, 80 yards down the field and take up time off the clock, make them do it again. Like, you don't have to get gimmicky if you're really the better team. You see that a lot of times when, you see if it's a one of those big spreads, the clearly worse team, if there's a big upset on the horizon, sometimes that lower end team will do things like a fake punt pass to try to gain a little momentum, or an onside kick or whatever, and take more risks. But if you're up 11 and you truly believe that you're the better team and that you're outplaying them, you don't need to take that onside kick and take that risk. He screwed himself there, and Nebraska lost momentum. Nebraska gained all the momentum off of that, and then final score 0-1 for the Cornhuskers.
Right? No, and I mean, they were again hyped up going into this offseason. Not that they were going to be competing for a Big Ten championship, but I mean, like you said, get Casey Thompson, highly touted recruit that came to Texas, transferred over. And there's a lot of juice within that fan base that this was going to be a year, and we're going to see some progression here from Scott Frost finally after he came over from UCF, 5 years ago now. I mean, he was fantastic there in the G5, but hasn't done anything since he's gotten in Nebraska.
This has to be year 5, right? Year 4 or 5
so.
at least. I mean, at least 4, if not probably 5.
Yeah, but starting off the season 0-1, losing to Northwestern, who was at the bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten West last year, not an ideal start for him. And I guess he's got a chance to maybe redeem himself here coming up in a couple of weeks. Oklahoma comes, I believe, into Lincoln. They're going to do a home and home there, kind of get that rivalry renewed from their days in the Big 12. I would think that's almost a must-win game for him now if he wants to salvage his coaching career at Nebraska. I mean, do you see him, one, coaching at Nebraska beyond this season, and two, is he even going to make it through this season?
I bet they let him stay through the season, but I mean, I'm looking at their schedule now, and I mean, they've got tough games against, obviously, Oklahoma, like you mentioned, Michigan, and then finishing off with Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa. So that's a really tough end of the season. And that might be Scott Frost's demise. If he finishes this season 0-4 against Minnesota, Michigan, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Iowa, which is probably how it's going to end up, that's going to be his demise. I doubt he gets fired during the season, just given their midseason schedule outside of Oklahoma. I mean, they're all winnable games. Not saying he's going to win them all given these last few years, but that Final Four, those last 4 games are going to be really tough unless he's able to get some major momentum going into the end of the season, which I mean, I can't really see happening. So I bet he gets through the season, and Nebraska's got that. I think they're going to extend that leash to him because he is a former quarterback for him, and he was kind of the the golden boy coming in for the Cornhuskers. But so I think he gets through the season, but if gigantic, all capitalized, if they are bowl eligible, I could see another coach coaching that bowl game.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there that he was the golden boy coming back to his alma mater. And that is the only reason he's still coaching at that program. If it was anybody else without any ties, 0% chance. Did you have any other takeaways at all? I'm kicking it over to you. I've got one more that I was going to bring up here, but wanted to kick it over to you.
I'm mostly looking forward to week 1. This was really the only game that I paid any attention to, honestly. So
the other one was just more just more kind of funny.
Oh,
in
Florida
the fact
State
that,
also fucking lost, by the way. So
yeah,
they're terrible again.
Not great.
Good God.
Yeah, my just kind of
Oh,
funny.
wait, no, never mind. I was wrong about that. They dominated. They won by 40. Okay,
Oh.
I take that back. Must have been thinking of somebody else. Whoops. Another Bush, please.
Yes. The other one I wanted to talk about, just a little bit more on the funnier side, Vandy just absolutely dominated Hawaii in that night slot, and Hawaii obviously not the program they were when Colt Brennan and Tommy Chang were out there slinging their rock around.
Jim Jones
offense.
or June Jones.
June Jones, yep.
Jim Jones,
but,
nice.
But with Vandy, their offense looked, okay against Hawaii. They put up a ton of points. Vandy's historically the last few years been just dog shit when it comes to SEC play. Do you think they could possibly pull off an upset here this season?
They're facing.
It's a long shot, but
they're facing Elon Musk next season or next week. University of Elon. That can't be real. They have a freaking rocket ship as their logo. To the moon. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
But they're, if they play, let's be honest, Hawaii's like
they're
you said,
they've got to be one of the
terrible.
Worst teams in all of
Division I. I as much as I love them having it's always great when especially during lake season and you're sitting out on the dock and it's like 1 a.m. and it's like, holy shit, there's still college football on. Right. Like that's the best part about Hawaii football. But if they play the way that they did, they're at home against Wake Forest week 3. That would be a pretty massive upset, but if they play the way they did this past weekend, maybe.
Yeah. Well, at that point, Sam Hartman's probably not playing still. I wouldn't think from his injury and everything like that, or stepping away from the program for a bit. So that could potentially be one for sure. Otherwise, you got late season home games against Florida and Tennessee. Maybe if
Tennessee's just trash, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah. Hendon Hooker, though, has been.
I don't give a shit. It's Tennessee. They've been so bad.
Yeah. They've, not lived up to their program hype after Peyton left. That's for sure. All right. Week
lovely.
0. Let's put that trash behind us and move on to week 1. They're going to give you
Why can't we just get one good game for week 0?
I know you'd think that they'd put something on, but oh well.
Moving on.
Week 1 is upon us. Everybody's back in action this week. Whatever fan base you cheer for, they are playing. So I just want to kick it off, Joe. Let's talk about some games we're looking forward to. Do you want to kick her off?
I can't get over this. The Elon Phoenix. Like, are you kidding me? This is way too good. Oh, that's so awesome. No, I guess, not any specific game that I want to start off with, but more of a kind of a concept that that Jim Harbaugh is doing at Michigan. Week 1, starting Cade McNamara at quarterback. And week 2, starting JJ McCarthy. McCarthy was a 5-star quarterback. McNamara is, and he's incredibly athletic. Just kind of, he's an inexperienced, kind of a little bit more of a wild card, but very talented, really talented player. Again, like I said, 5-star recruit, the first one first quarterback in Michigan football in God knows how long. It feels like it's been a while, but yeah, week 1, Cade McNamara at home against Colorado State. Week 2 against your boys, the Fighting Rainbows or whatever they're called, facing Hawaii.
I believe they're just the Warriors. They used to be the
Rainbow Warriors, isn't it?
They're just the Warriors now.
It is it says Rainbow Warriors on Google. Hawaii Rainbow War. What did I say? The Fighting Rainbows. God, I'm on fire right now.
Nailed
But
it.
yeah, Cade McNamara week 1 against Colorado State, JJ McCarthy week 2 against Hawaii. I wonder how true of a quarterback battle this is, or if it's just like, let's get each of these guys playing time and do kind of what they did last year, which was like
Ride
a
the hot hand.
70-30-ish split where they played McNamara when games needed to be won, and they played McCarthy when they had a little bit more points to play with, or if they needed a more mobile quarterback out there, that's when they would bring in McCarthy. So do you think it's more of that same kind of thing this season, or if he's doing this to settle a true quarterback debate?
I can't believe you're settling a true quarterback debate 2 games into the season. I mean, granted, those games shouldn't even be any sort of contest. And I would imagine that, yeah, McNamara is starting the game, but I guarantee you after the first couple series that McCarthy comes in. So it's not like McNamara's got the entire game. He's just the quote unquote starter for that game. But I can't imagine that they're settling any sort of battle. Maybe it's just kind of, like you said, giving guys some playing time and smoothing egos or anything like that and making sure that they're getting out there on the field. But I can't imagine that there's any sort of quarterback battle. You have to have that decided going into the season. I mean, you can't be rocking 2 quarterbacks for a good chunk of the season. That's not,
and especially because this, the split duty thing worked last year. I mean, they ended up as the 2 seed in the playoff, and yeah, they got spanked, but still they made a college football playoff. That's extremely solid. Beat Ohio State for the first time since what's the phrase?
Since Harbaugh's been there, but
shit, I can't think of the phrase. Damn it, I'm not going to be able to do it. Okay. I wanted to touch on that. In terms of games that I'm looking forward to, I think you got to kind of start it off with Notre Dame, Ohio State. We talked about this briefly the other day, but Notre Dame is still going into this game as a 17.5-point dog. Yeah, it's at the shoe, but 17.5 points for the number 5 ranked team in the country. Are you sure they're deserving of being the number 5 ranked team in the country? Because if they are, you shouldn't be a 17.5-point dog in week 1.
Yeah.
Ohio State tends to start off the season a little bit slower. They did last year as well.
Yeah. And was it Big Ten opener or the season opener at Minnesota?
Against Minnesota. Yeah. I thought it was the season opener.
Okay. Because Minnesota had that. They were up pretty good until
like
Ibrahim
it was in the bag.
tore his Achilles. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was
nasty.
That was, and that sucked God, I remember you brought that replay back to my head. Oh, it looked like a freaking trampoline spring in his leg.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for the visual via audio. But no, I think I'm going to start off there and just say, is 17.5 points? Does that feel right? Because that means either Ohio State is that much better than the number 5 team in the country, or that Notre Dame has no business being the number 5 team.
Yeah.
Or do you think that number is just way off and it should be closer to single digits?
No, I think that's a good spread. I think Ohio State's going to have one of the best offenses in the entire country this year. Their defense needs to step it up from last year. They're a little bit soft at times, but no, I think it could be too. I don't think Notre Dame should be the 5th team in the country. I think they belong more in the teens. And I think this is just the guys in Vegas saying that Ohio State's going to be one of the best teams. And that there's not a team that's going to stand up to them that has a chance at this point in time, which that makes you wonder too, then if Notre Dame, the 5 team in the country, is a 17-point underdog, what are some of these other teams? I mean, is this going to be the closest? Is this going to be the closest spread for Ohio State the entire season?
Oh, I mean, who knows how the teams look at the end of the year when they play Michigan, but other than that, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe they play at Penn State. that could maybe make a difference, but and one of those whiteout night games, which are always fun to watch it in, up in Penn State. But, I was kind of thinking back to, this offense, as you mentioned, is going to be the most dominant in college football, if not, I mean, probably the most dominant. I was thinking maybe the most dominant since LSU. And if you look at these skill position players that they have, CJ Stroud, Trevion Henderson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, Jackson Smith and Jigba, compare that to Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like
Randy Moss's kid.
Like just both offenses completely loaded.
Or even you could even throw in the Alabama offense from the year before. Granted, Mac Jones isn't the quarterback Joe Burrow is, but that offense was dominant too. They were
ridiculous receivers. Yeah. So I think this will probably be the best offense since LSU, since their title run, which was only 2 years ago. So it's not like we're talking about a decade ago, but I mean, I think they're going to, why would they not be a 17-point favorite in every game at this point? The way that they're going to be able to score the ball, nobody's going to be able to score with them. So it's going to come down. The only way I see them losing is, I mean, if you got an Alabama team who is also loaded on offense and has a stronger defense, I think they're the easy 1-2 in the country.
Yeah. No, I think the only way you're going to beat Ohio State this year, you have to have an absolute dominant front four, front seven, and get pressure on CJ Stroud and be able to shut down that run game. If you can make them one-dimensional and still get pressure in the backfield and put some pressure on CJ, that's the only way I think you're going to beat Ohio State. Because if you're trying to beat them in a shootout, good luck to you. You are not winning.
Good luck.
So, yeah. No, that was one of my games I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm going to throw it back. So you took a Saturday night game, Jell. I'm flipping it right to Thursday. Let's get into the backyard brawl, West Virginia at Pitt. So
Mountain Mama.
Got the battle of two quarterbacks, JT Daniels going from Georgia to West Virginia, Keaton Slovis moving over from USC to Pittsburgh. So I want to see how both these guys do with their new teams. And we haven't had a West Virginia Pitt game in a little while either, with that backyard brawl, get that rivalry renewed. So no better way for me kicking it off on a Thursday than that. Last year, I believe, either Thursday or Friday, we had Virginia Tech. So we got the what's their entrance? Was it AC/DC? Or no, it's what is it?
I think it's Metallica.
Metallica, yes. Enter Sandman. Yep. That's right. So, but no,
night game.
Yeah. So no, I'm excited. It's at Pittsburgh, and I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be the true kickoff to college football this season. And again, I want to see how these two transfer quarterbacks end up doing. So they were uprooted, JT Daniels by Stetson Bennett last year, and obviously Caleb Williams coming over to USC. So don't blame both those guys for getting out of their respective
former USC
situation.
Quarterbacks. JT Daniels originally started at USC. So this is now JT Daniels' second transfer, going from USC to Georgia and now over to Mountain Mama. So it's quite the ride for him. I guess he's getting to see the whole country. Maybe next year he decides
country roads are taking him home.
No, he's got to somehow finagle his way into like Washington for next season. Get up all four corners.
Maybe Hawaii.
I heard they could use a quarterback. No, that's going to be a good time. I mean, we'll see if Slovis can maintain the momentum that Kenny Pickett gave Pitt last year. Pitt had their best year in God knows how long. I mean, maybe since the LaShawn McCoy days. So that's they had a really nice season. Obviously, losing Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett, that's a huge, Jordan Addison, him leaving, that's a huge loss. But Keaton Slovis, big time recruit again, and Got to wonder if it was because, he didn't succeed at USC because of that coaching, that coaching mess that USC had endured under Clay Helton for so many years. And so hopefully Slovis can come out and show why he was a high-end recruit and keep them rolling and, and make sure they still have a chance to compete in the ACC. It's going to be tough, but hey, they won it last year. So obviously got to try to ride that momentum as hard as you can. I'm going to move over to JT Daniels' former school, not the USC Trojan game, but the Georgia Bulldogs game. They're facing Oregon, playing at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. They are calling it a neutral site game, but right. Why?
Yeah. Let's see, Athens, like 45 minutes, if that.
That's probably about that. Yeah. It's a nice, little hike up the highway. So not exactly the most neutral site, but that's what they're calling it. Oregon coming in with new head coach, replacing Mario Cristobal, and a new quarterback, Bo Nix, coming over from Auburn. So I want to see kind of what Bo Nix can do. Auburn, again, going back to coaching, they've been pretty much a coaching mess. They had one great year with Gus Malzahn at the helm, but since then, pretty much been underachieving on the football side. And Bo Nix was supposed to be kind of the greatest thing since sliced bread when he first arrived at Auburn. So hopefully this move over to Oregon, he can kind of reclaim some of that glory that he came in to his freshman season at Auburn with. On the Georgia side, we find out if Stetson Bennett's legit. Is he the real deal? Because they did lose their top two running backs. They did lose Pickens, who, granted, he didn't play last year, but they had another receiver transfer out of Georgia to Alabama.
Yeah, what was his name? I'll look it up. Keep going.
And so that Georgia defense is not as weak. Not as strong. They had either 5 or 6 first rounders. Are you kidding me? So that defense, Burton. That's it. There you go. So they had a ton of turnover on that defensive side. Granted, they still do have Jordan Davis, who's an absolute monster in the middle of that defense, and plenty of talented players. They're not going to run out of talent on defense, but I think it's going to be more of it's now established that this is Stetson Bennett's job to lose, and hopefully he can hang on to it for his own sake. But it's not like he's an extremely dynamic quarterback the way that a Bryce Young, CJ Stroud is. So can Bennett just succeed at being a really good college quarterback like he showed that he could be in the playoff last year? Or is he going to kind of fall back a little bit to what kind of the position that he was looked at before he got some playing time, which was kind of a mediocre, 3-star run of the mill type of a quarterback. So I'm pretty interested in that matchup, primarily because of the QBs and seeing how Bo Nix is going to do with his first game with the Ducks, quack, quack. And if Stetson Bennett can maintain his role as a good starter for the Georgia Bulldogs.
I had that game written down too. I'm interested in Oregon, I think, and seeing what we have from Oregon, if they're going to be a team that's going to be able to compete for that Pac-12. Like you had mentioned, Bo Nix coming over from Auburn. I want to see what he looks like in an Oregon Duck uniform as far as the offense goes, because Oregon has had some interesting offenses. Yeah, which of the 1,000 that they can put together. But also interesting, a little homecoming for former Georgia defensive coordinator Dan Lanning, new head coach of the Oregon Ducks.
Good call.
I want to see what that Oregon Duck defense looks like as well. They're not a team that's known for their defense, and the Pac-12 is not known for defense at all. So I want to see if Dan Lanning kind of brings a different twist and kind of jumpstarts their defense. Granted, I don't know that they really stand a chance at all against Georgia in this one, but I'm looking forward to it and just kind of seeing what we have from the Oregon Ducks and if they're going to be able to compete in that Pac-12 this year. My last one I think I want to throw out there is one I don't expect this to be an upset at all, but you got a road test in a tough SEC environment, and that's the Utah Utes going down to Gainesville playing the Florida Gators. So Florida Gators have Billy Napier taking over as a head coach, and Anthony Richardson's gotten a ton of hype this year too as a quarterback position. So
yep.
I want to see what Florida has going and if they're able to compete. A tough road environment going to the Swamp for Utah. It's going to be hot. And
this is my swamp.
Okay, Shrek.
Donkey.
Donkey. But no, I think it'll be a tough road test, one that Utah should end up winning. But again, it'll be a fun game, I think. And
Anthony Richardson looks like he's going to be a major difference maker. So who knows? I think Utah is awesome. They're deserving of. They may be more deserving of that top 5.
Year, so
yeah, exactly. So, and Florida's been just a mess. But hey, Anthony Richardson, new coaching staff, who knows? I don't see it happening right away for them, but they call him AR-15. He can make it.
No, he took away that nickname.
Oh, they did.
He did. He doesn't want to be referred to that yet.
Well, that's good.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, I am in favor of that. But he's nice. So
yes. Yep. Any other games looking forward to this weekend, Joe?
I just have to bring up the fact that Florida State and LSU play this weekend, and they're both unranked. What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Those are two of the biggest brands in college football, both unranked to start a season. They haven't even had a shitty season yet, and they're unranked. So I don't. That's the last one. Is just that's kind of mind blowing. Like if one of them's unranked, I get it. Both, wow.
Yeah. I guess one more sneaky matchup I want to throw into two ranked teams up in the higher echelon of the top 25, but Cincinnati at Arkansas. Luke Fickell's team going into Arkansas to see just kind of what their program looks like. Both teams have had quite a bit of turnover the last year. Traylon Burks leaving Arkansas, obviously Desmond Ridder, Sauce, and Kobe leaving Cincinnati.
That's too much sauce.
Too much sauce, but I want to see if Cincinnati is actually for real. Arkansas, their fans are excited about this season. They're hyped up and just kind of want to see what that game's all about too. So that could have implications kind of going for both programs. I mean, that's one that you obviously want to win early on in the season. And if you don't, that's definitely a downer for the rest of the season. So let's see the impact there. All right. I think that will do it for this episode. We will be back on Thursday, have some NFL that we want to talk about. And then Jill and I, if you just can't get enough of college football starting this weekend, we're going to give you some of our Heisman favorites and introduce a new segment I'm excited about as well. We're going to do our Tune In Thursday to find out. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Be the first thing that pops up. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. You can ask us questions, subscribe, click the bell. That way you know when our live episodes drop. So you can see our faces. Jell's got the fire roaring. I did a couple of beer chugs today. You can critique in the comments section. So yeah, hit us up with anything there. Jell can be found at DosJell. I can be found at DosJPEG. Send us any questions. Draft season is getting close to being over. If you're in a draft, send us questions. We've got a question of the day on our next episode from one of our listeners. We'll dive into a little fantasy related content there and get you covered. Otherwise, Jell, where can they find us at?
You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. That written review is especially important for both getting Dead Arm Sports up the charts a little bit. And also with that written review, you can send us a screenshot of that review and send that screenshot to us on our Twitter or Instagram page. Just hit us up in the DMs and we'll get you some free Dead Arm Sports sticker swag heading your way. As well as also make sure, like Josh mentioned, hit us up, find us on YouTube, just search Dead Arm Sports in that search bar. Our channel is going to be the first thing that's going to pop up at the top of your search. Make sure to hit subscribe there and that alert bell so that you know when we go live.
All right, that'll do it. Appreciate everybody out there listening. If you could help us out, like Jell said, subscribe to our podcast, help get our numbers up, and just tell somebody that you enjoy the podcast. Odds are somebody else that will. So that would be greatly appreciated. We'll be back with more content for you on Thursday. And Jell, close her out.
Neiman, I hardly know him.